Welcome to the Action Network studio in New York City. I'm Maria Marino, and this is Green Dot Daily. We come to you live every weekday at 3 Eastern on the Action Network YouTube channel and the Action app. Coming up on the show, we have a pair of Game 5s in the NBA tonight, so we'll get you the trends that you need to know. Plus, it's 3 p.m. somewhere, so naturally, we'll have a three-point player prop as well. We'll have MLB Picks, too, from our guy Charlie DiSturco, who will join me in studio. We got NFL, we got NHL, a whole lot going on. But as mentioned, we start in the NBA. Check out these Game 5 trends, courtesy of our Director of Research, Evan Abrams. The Celtics are 32-6 in Game 5s at home when the series is tied 2-2. Meanwhile, teams on the road for Game 5 that have won 2 straight, like the Suns, are 19-47, which is 29%. And a reminder of how pivotal these games are, teams who win Game 5 in a playoff series tied at 2 move on 83% of the time. So let's welcome in Jay Money, making your Green Dot Daily debut. You're also on our podcast Buckets pretty often. Now, I want to ask you, just looking at tonight's slate, is there anyone you're confident in picking?
Yeah, I'd have to be confident in the Boston Celtics. With the series tied up in the Game 5 in a pivotal game, you usually want to take the team that you think is going to win the series, and I do think that's the Boston Celtics. I do have confidence in them laying the 7.5 full game.
So tell me more about that. Like, what specifically about this spot do you like with the Celtics, aside from them just that you like them to win the series?
Yeah, well, first off, they've been really good at bouncing back after a loss in the playoffs. They're 4-0 against the spread, and even 7-0 dating back to the regular season when coming off a loss. That's something that you like to look at when betting basketball, because you want those teams that are kind of pissed off, right? So coming off a loss, the Celtics have been really great. Like I say, 4-0 against the spread as well. The Sixers, obviously, after that overtime game, the Sixers literally had to empty the tank in that one. I do think they're going to be running on fumes, mainly their two most important players, and that's James Harden and Embiid. Now, I know Embiid did have 13 days off before coming back in Game 2, but he's still not up to pace with like NBA basketball as far as playing every other day. We know he's kind of like a slow moving type of player as well, and Harden as well. Harden is really the X factor for the Philadelphia 76ers. With him playing all those minutes, man, 47 minutes in that Game 4 overtime win, I really think he's going to be running on fumes here as well. So two main players, and Harden's an older player as well. He's 35 years old. So it's a little bit harder coming back from all of that time, from playing all those minutes with only 1 day of rest. Where you look at the Celtics, these are young guys, 25, 26 years old. I know that Tatum and Brown played a lot of minutes as well, but like I say, I mean, there's like a 10-year age gap there. I know Embiid is the same age as them, but Harden is the main guy. He's the X factor for the Sixers. If he's not playing well, we usually see them getting blown out, and that's what I think happens here. The Celtics have also owned this meeting, going 7-2 against the spread last 9 games versus the Philadelphia 76ers. I know it's not going to last forever, but I do think they keep it going today.
Well, I agree with you. And you brought up the age and sort of the fatigue factor for someone like James Harden and Joel Embiid with his health. In the later game tonight, we have Suns Nuggets. I know you're not officially on a side, but I feel like that fatigue factor could be also a factor for the Suns, and particularly Kevin Durant. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good point there, especially in the altitude. I feel like the Denver Nuggets, that's their main home court advantage is the altitude. It's definitely not the same as playing in a regular arena there. So this should be a bounce back spot for the Nuggets here. I am a little bit worried because the Suns have kind of found some matchup advantages as far as like putting Landry Shamet on Jamal Murray. It's another thing. It's almost like Harden, right? He's the starting point guard. Murray is the X factor, in my opinion, outside of Jokic, because Jokic can get whatever he wants in this series. They can't stop him. Murray, though, he needs to go off, either him or Aaron Gordon or guys like KCP or Bruce Brown as well, or Michael Porter Jr., who hadn't played well on the road. Role players play a lot better at the house, so I would give a slight lean to the Nuggets, but I could say that the fatigue could come into play for Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, but I mean, these guys are they're absolutely phenomenal, right? And you can't double team one of them. So if you double team one of them, then you're leaving the other one open. I just feel like KD and Devin Booker will keep that going. It's going to be really tough to stop them here, in my opinion.
I'm sure they will keep it going. I don't think Landry Shamet necessarily will be as hot as he was in the last game. But I did want to ask you just as well, in the playoff semis that we have, we had the games last night and then tomorrow night as well. Knicks and Warriors are the two teams down 3-1. Are either of them worthy of a bet to come back and win in 7?
I mean, I did bet the Knicks for the series. I took them at +1.5 games on the handicap. So I'd like to say that, but I always tell people just because you want something to win, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to bet with your heart. So, but I would say if there's one I could see them coming back, it would be the Knicks. Obviously, the Heat are the 8th seed. They've been playing out of their minds. They are pretty banged up as well. Jimmy Butler's banged up, Caleb Martin, and Bam Adebayo. So that's 3 starters that are not playing at 100%. It just hadn't really mattered because it seems like the Knicks they're getting out hustled in this series. If there's one team that I think could come back from down 3-1, it would be more on the Knicks. I do think the Lakers are winning that series for sure.
Yeah.
At the max of 6 games. But if you're saying two teams that are a little bit more even, I do think it's the Knicks and the Heat over there. The Knicks they got to make some shots. They got to stop getting so mad at the referees for not getting their foul calls because that's really affected their play. But if I would pick one team that could come back from down 3-1, I definitely think it's the Knicks. I think this Warriors dynasty is finally coming to an end.
I know, it's a little bit sad, but, with the Knicks and Heat, I feel like talent-wise, they're a little more evenly matched. The Knicks, to your point, just haven't been hustling the last couple of games, which is really shocking. I think they will turn it around on Wednesday. I don't know if they have enough to overcome in the series. Both the Knicks and Warriors are home favorites on Wednesday. Jay Money, thanks so much for joining us on Green Dot Daily. We look forward to having you back.
Anytime. I love doing shows with you guys. Can't wait to be back on Green Dot as well.
Sweet. Not done yet in the NBA, but a reminder that Green Dot Daily is presented by BetMGM. Use bonus code ACTION when signing up to get up to $1,000 paid back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And I say we're not done yet in the NBA because we have Gilles Gallant joining us for some player props. Let's start with the 76ers in Boston. What's your play here? Gilles, I think you might be on mute, actually. I can't hear you, but I'm not sure if anyone else can hear you.
Well, you know what's hilarious, Maria? Zoom usually reminds me when I'm on mute.
Oh.
This time it did not. So again, live television, you got to roll with it.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do? We're gonna pivot here. We're gonna take James Harden double at +170. Now, a lot of the surface stats I'm about to mention, Maria, are kind of already factored into the odds. I still think it's worth mentioning up front before we dive a little deeper. So we'll start off. He's got 4 double-doubles in 8 playoff games so far. He's second in the NBA in assists per game in the playoffs at 8.1. 12.6 potential assists as well, which is very encouraging. He's also averaging 11.8 rebound chances per game, which is incredible when you're on a team with Joel Embiid. He's just second on the team behind him, and also leads the Sixers at 40 minutes per game. Again, these are all well and good, but they're already factored into the odds. We're going to take a little bit deeper dive here, and why we want to take the double-double instead of, say, a points prop is projected adjustments that these teams are going to make. For the Sixers to have a chance to win, we saw kind of it in game 4. Joel Embiid is going to have to take at least 20 shots. And when Embiid takes over 20 shots, James Harden's stats tend to get a little bit of a boost. They were 29 games this year, Maria, where they were both in the lineup and Embiid took at least 20 shots. In those 29 games, James Harden has a double-double in 19 of them. So that's a 65% hit rate. Another factor, during the season, 40% of all of James Harden's assists went to Joel Embiid. In the playoffs, it's only down to 18%. So I project some huge positive regression on that front, especially considering that so far Embiid has missed 3 games in these playoffs, and all 30% of all of James Harden's passes have still gone to Joel Embiid during the playoffs. So I think there's a very high chance that we're going to see a double-double here from James Harden, and I love it at the odds at +170.
Yeah, and it would be a good chance that one of those double-double categories would be the assists for James Harden. All right, as you like to say, it's 3 p.m. somewhere, so do you have a 3-point prop for the second game of the night, which is the Suns visiting Denver?
Absolutely. And Zoom will not keep me quiet on this one. We are taking Michael Porter Jr. over 2.5 3-pointers. It's at even money or plus 100 for the layman. But he's second on the Nuggets in 3-point attempts in the playoffs. And I find it very encouraging for Michael Porter Jr. that his attempts and minutes have picked up as this series has gone along. And in game 3 and game 4, he came out firing. He had 5 3-point attempts combined in those first quarters of game 4 and game 5, ended up finishing with 19 3-point attempts in those 2 games. Now the Nuggets are returning home. He's averaging over 4 3-point makes per 48 this season at the Nuggets Stadium. And he hit this in over 60% of home games during the regular season, 19 of 31 home games. The other thing that we've seen, Maria, in this series is the Suns have shifted their rotation to be a little bit more offensive than defensive. We're seeing more minutes for Landry Shamet, Terrence Ross, TJ Warren got some run the last game. They're getting more minutes than guys like Josh Okogie and Torrey Craig. Torrey Craig was the star of the first round. He can't even get on the floor in this series. And another reason why we like this prop is the way that the odds are shifting. So in game 3, it was pretty much low point for Michael Porter because he went 0 for 7 basically on 3 points in those 2 games. Well, he hit 6 in game 3 and he was plus 165 in that game. And then in game 4, his odds were plus 125. He goes 2 for 9, but very encouraging to see 9 3-point attempts and already combing the odds out there, seeing the odds as low as minus 120 for the over. It's also worth mentioning, Maria, friend of the program and friend of Action Network, Joe Delara, also on over 2.5 3-pointers for Michael Porter Jr. In fact, he thinks so highly of MPJ tonight that he's actually even laddered his 3-point props to have 4 and 5 3-pointers tonight. Now, I'm a little more of a wimp on that. I'm going to take the safer approach and over 2.5 3-pointers, and we're going to get it at even odds.
So a couple of endorsements there for Michael Porter Jr., over 2.5 3-pointers made. And I want to just say, too, that when we had Jay Money on just now, he was talking about how Porter and a couple of these other role players are really going to need to step up for Denver. Mm-hmm. I think if you like Denver tonight, there's a good chance that Porter's going to have a good game, and therefore this 3-point player prop makes a whole lot of sense as well. So, Gilles Gallant, thanks for stopping.
Appreciate you having me, Maria.
To the NFL, here are latest odds to win the NFC Championship. Eagles are at plus 275, followed by the 49ers at plus 350, the Cowboys at plus 650, and the Lions at plus 850. Can anyone in the conference challenge the Eagles? Chad Millman and Simon Hunter discuss that on the Favorites podcast.
But the Philadelphia Eagles, after the Super Bowl, were on the precipice of potentially falling into a contract and talent abyss, right? And we didn't know what was going to happen with Jalen Hurts. Could he get a team-friendly contract? We knew they were going to lose their top running back. There were questions about what was happening in the front 7. They were a little bit thin. They lost one of their best linebackers to the Bears in free agency. Then Howie does what Howie does and makes the obvious choices, doesn't try to outthink himself or anybody else. He gets Jalen Carter. He makes really smart pick with Nolan Smith. He builds back what you need to build on the offensive line. Like, he built the defensive backfield. Like, the Eagles were the best team in the NFC last season. And I feel like they not only got better, but they put themselves in a position to be better for a longer period of time, also because of the contract they signed with Jalen Hurts.
No one else in the NFC improved to catch them, right? The 49ers, we don't know who the hell is going to be their quarterback, right? And then you go to the Cowboys. I love talking Cowboys. It's fun to shit on the Cowboys, but it's boring. It's like, okay, is Dak going to take that next step? How the hell do we know? There's no team you put ahead of them. So it's kind of, I get what the media was trying to make a case the Eagles were going to slip a little bit. There was just nothing there. Like, even the linebacker they lost to you guys, Chad, he wasn't that great until last year. Like, he improved every year, but there's nothing like, having people step in and run a boring zone defense. That's literally what we did last year. We ran a defense that was, we will let you stab us 99 times. That 100th time won't kill us. You're not going to score a touchdown here. We're going to hold you to a field goal. it's a boring defense, but it worked. I mean, once again, who knows how their defense is going to be the upcoming year, but I just know their offense, that was the whole key to this. It's like if they keep their offense, if they re-signed Hurts, they brought back AJ, they still have Smith on the outside and Goddard at tight end, and that O-line, Chad, I never really wavered about it. To me, it's just a boring team. The Eagles, we expect regression. There just isn't regression there because there's no really competitive team to challenge them.
Over to NHL playoffs, puck drops at 7 Eastern for the Hurricanes and Devils. 69% of the bets and 70% of the handle is coming in on the Carolina money line. The nightcap has the Stars taking on the Kraken. A whopping 95% of bets and 98% of money is coming in on the game to go over 5.5 goals scored. Nick Martin has more on the Line Change podcast.
Minus 150. I kind of like the Devils here. I've had a pretty bad feel for this series. But I feel like I like what the Devils showed. It seems like it is kind of what you thought, where they're figuring it out as they go. The one thing that I love, he had some really, really good moments today. I feel like you know where I'm going with this. Luke Hughes, I talked about it. I said if they put him in, there's no chance he's going to do worse than some of these bottom defenders. He's just too good. I thought he was excellent. And one of the things that I think is really interesting is, so I think the common cliche is when you're playing like a Carolina that comes at you so fast and so hard on the forecheck, is you want guys that constantly make this safe play. And I think sometimes people underthink that, it's not that Hughes was making such risky plays, but he would hold the puck and be slightly more passive or beat the first check and find a play. I thought there's some really good examples of that. And that's exactly what you want to see, where you're going to keep the puck and beat it that way, as opposed to always trying glass and out, and then you're just feeding them. Because then they're so good coming back in the neutral zone too. So I thought he was excellent. I think he's going to give them a ton of upside moving forward, and that's like something to be really excited about. I'm just happy he got in too, because I really wanted to watch him play this postseason. Prop-wise, I think Karche, keep your eye on him. Goal for a goal, and then I think if Hintz is still minus 110 for 3 shots, that's just, you just keep playing that. It has to be played.
Thank you, Nick. And to baseball now. Here's the latest injury news. The Braves have placed their ace, Max Fried, on the IL with a strained forearm. Meanwhile, Max Scherzer has been scratched from tonight's start for the Mets due to neck spasms. Good news for the Yankees, though. They get Aaron Judge back from the IL. And back here in the studio, Charlie DiSturco is with me. Charlie, how are you? And you have picks for tonight, yeah?
Yes, I do. I'm coming in hot with some picks. Took a day off yesterday, recharged the battery, so all ready to give you some MLB picks tonight.
Good for you. Mm-hmm. All right, what's your first pick?
All right, so we're going to head out. Angels, Astros. Angels first 5 money line. It's Shohei Ohtani, Framber Valdez. One of the best matchups of the entire night, and I'm targeting the Angels over the first 5 here. Framber Valdez, his expected ERA is over 1.5 runs higher than his actual ERA, right around that low 4 mark, his actual ERA in the 2s. And I'm looking to fade him. He's had some concerning marks when it comes to his expected slugging, his expected batting average, his barrel rate. A lot of these numbers are particularly high, and the Angels, they crush left-handed pitching. They're top 5 in both WOBA and WRC+. So I think this is a perfect spot where you want to fade Framber Valdez. You want to get a good opportunity here at minus 150. Shohei Ohtani, you look at his last couple of starts, he's given up a couple home runs. That's kind of overshadowed how dominant he's been. He's in the top 6% of all pitchers in just about every major category. His expected batting average is under 200. So a huge pitching advantage here. And as far as the offense, too, the Astros, they're actually 23rd in WRC plus and 27th in WOBA. So their offense is not clicking. They're not the scary offense that won the World Series last year. Right now, there's injuries and stuff going on. So rather than taking the full game here, I trust the Angels and Ohtani over the first 5. Don't want to get into this whole bullpen where I've talked to you multiple times about how good that Astros back end is.
Fair. All right, so we think the Angels could get off to a pretty good start. What else?
Yeah, so I made a joke here about Anthony DeBundo. In my note, I said he's gonna give me flack because I'm on the Orioles again here. Grayson Rodriguez is on the mound. Every time I bet on Grayson Rodriguez, usually by the 4th or 5th inning, he struggles, and I start messaging a lot of messages off to Anthony how upset I am over him. But I'm buying low on him again here. I'm going to continue to do it. He has elite stuff. His success just hasn't translated. You look at his numbers, his xFIP just 3.35, his ERA 5.46. So he's just not getting lucky right now, or he's getting unlucky. It's an unsustainable 371 batting average on balls in play, so everything he's putting in play, usually going for base hits here. He's given up a high barrel rate, but I trust his stuff. He is one of the best swing and miss stuff of all pitchers in baseball, especially of the young crop. And Zach Eflin, he does have some minor concerns when you look at just how he is. He's been great, the former Philly. Now the Rays take him in, as Rays do. They turn pitchers into, pretty solid starters, but minor concerns with his barrel percentage. He's got career lows in hard hit rate. So I'm just looking to fade him here. And you look at the teams that he's faced: Detroit, Oakland, the White Sox, when the White Sox were just about the worst team in baseball, and the Pittsburgh Pirates, who have been dropping down that leaderboard in WRC+. I don't think Eflin has really faced a competent offense yet, so I think this is a good time where I project the game closer to even, backing Grayson Rodriguez and hoping that this high-end stuff kind of clicks here.
And hoping that, for our friend Anthony DeBundo's sake, you won't be messaging
hitting him
later
up.
today. He's another of our MLB experts, if you don't know Anthony DeBundo. Okay, how about one more?
Okay, I'll make this one quick. Marlins money line at +100. Even money here. I make them favorites. You look at the matchup: Jesus Luzardo against Brandon Pfaadt. Pfaadt came up and was tattooed in his debut against Texas. And you look at his minor league numbers, he does have good stuff, and he does have, one of the better stuff for all Arizona Diamondback pitching prospects. But he has some concerns. His xFIP was in the 4s in the minor leagues the last couple of years. I'm not so sure he should be around a slight favorite here, even at home against Jesus Luzardo. Luzardo, near 350 batting average on balls in play, another unsustainable number that should come back down to earth. Luzardo, I take him just about every year to win the Cy Young. He has that high-end potential stuff. And the Arizona's in their worst split here, 19th in WRC+ against left-handed pitching. So they're top 10 in WRC+ all together this season. But when you put things into perspective and how bad they've been against left-handed pitching, I think Luzardo can get off to a nice hot start here. And I'm not going to back Pfaadt until he proves me otherwise.
All right, so a couple of value plays there with the O's and the Marlins money line. Charlie DiSturco, thanks for hanging out with me in studio. You know I like to have you come in here with me. I'm usually alone, so thanks again.
Always a blast.
All righty. Remember, any picks we give out here on the show, like the ones you just heard from Charlie, you can easily reference by following Green Dot Daily in the Action app. We keep track so you don't have to. Green Dot Daily is presented by BetMGM. Use bonus code ACTION when signing up to get up to $1,000 paid back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Now, on yesterday's show, we reported the news that the Iowa Gaming Commission acknowledged it was investigating the Iowa baseball team. The commission has since told the Action Network that there is no evidence of suspicious betting activity involving any Iowa or Iowa State sporting event. The NCAA is still investigating student athletes from both schools who may have engaged in gambling activity, which they are not allowed to do. We just wanted to make sure to give you an update on that developing story. But that's it for Green Dot Daily. I'm Maria Marino. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you again Wednesday at 3 Eastern on the Action Network YouTube channel and the Action app.